Welcome to Smashie Reviews. I am Smashie and this is Carrie. Released October 18th, this 2013 remake stars Chloe Grace Moretz, Julianne Moore, Judy Greer, Gabriella Wilde, Portia Doubleday, Alex Russell, and Ansel Elgort. This film was directed by Kimberly Peirce and is a remake of the 1976 film starring Sissy Spacek. Now let's go! Following the book and the 1976 movie, despite the birth of Carrie not being shown in both the movie and I do believe the book, this film opens with Carrie in school. And a short time goes on before we see her getting bullied by Chris Hargensen and Sue Snell, and basically just their whole posse. We then see Carrie in the gym showers, a great recreation of the scene in Carrie 1976. I believe it was also in the book. I haven't read it all. This is when she gets her first period, and, being raised in a strictly religious household, she didn't know what was going on, so of course her first natural thought was she was dying and bleeding to death, which I think is every other girl's first reaction if they haven't really been told about that process. She had no clue what was going on. This led to Chris Hargensen beginning to throw tampons and maxi pads at Carrie, telling her to plug it up, and it became this chant basically from the 1976 movie, plug it up, plug it up, plug it up, plug it up, that thing. But in this one, Chris is actually recording Carrie while they're continuing their assault. Although that was not a good thing to do. That actually comes into play later. Anyway, that whole tirade goes on, and they bully Carrie while Chris films it. This is when we see Sue begin to fall back a little bit, and this scene was one of the times I felt bad for Carrie. She is raised in a strictly religious household because of her mother, Margaret White, and she was basically scared, and these girls just fucked with her. Fucked with her, mostly because of the rich bitch Chris Hargensen. After the incident at school, Margaret picks Carrie up, and we see a bit of how her mother is, subtly saying her daughter is a slut, not pure, but has impure thoughts. She eventually hits her daughter in the head with the Bible, and she's all kinds of cray-cray. Margaret White is all kinds of cray-cray. And she sends Carrie to the prayer closet, which is also seen in Carrie 1976, and I believe in the book. Ugh. Something in my throat. In the original Carrie, we saw Margaret a little bit more crazier. Basically a door-to-door Bible thumper trying to praise a good name. No meaning to offend Christians out there. You do you. I don't believe in that stuff. Moving on. Moving on now. We find Chris uploading Carrie's first period video to YouTube, the one where, they're throwing tampons and all that stuff at her. Pretty bitch move, if you ask me. We see Carrie, throughout the beginning, begin to realize her ability of telekinesis, which then she heads to the library to find books on what's happening, basically just to research it a little bit. In her class, in the next scene, however, we see her teacher also being a complete ass to her. And he was also giving a student, Tina, I think that was her name, some very suggestive looks. And I'm just gonna assume that he was secretly screwing her, but anyway. It pissed me off to see that even her own teacher will overlook the bullying of Carrie and even bully her subtly. Don't abuse your power. Once again, we see Margaret White. Once again, we see Margaret White, while at her craziness again, self-harming with a sewing tool while talking to a customer. Yow. So Chris didn't end up going to prom because of her actions in the video toward Carrie. It's around here where we see that Sue Snell actually wants to be nice to her, which leads up to Sue asking Tommy to take Carrie to prom as a way of being nice to her and letting her know what it feels like to be accepted, in my eyes. This honestly was a good thing that came from them, as they were mostly on the sidelines anyway and just wanted to do something genuinely nice for her, courtesy of Sue. And poor Carrie didn't know he was being genuine, and that honestly showed you how much she got bullied and tormented and teased and made fun of. And, you know, I feel for her so much. But we'll get into that later. Eventually, Mr. Jardin found her, the gym teacher. She found her in the locker room and basically talked to her a bit and gave her self-esteem a bit of a boost. Her relationship with Carrie in this movie, honestly, I love it more in this movie than in, like, the 1976 movie. Desjardins eventually catches up with Tommy and Sue and basically calls them out, but they say they're being genuine. He asks Carrie again, and saying that he just wants to her to have a good time for once. Oh, if only they knew what was gonna happen. Woo! Well, eventually, in an argument with her mom, she uses her telekinesis to lift everything in an angry tirade, and then lifts her mom while she claims her daughter is a witch and an awful being, and begins to cry and pray for her soul. If you think that's bad, that damn Chris Hargensen. Well, we see them killing pigs to get their blood to use for the iconic prom scene. We'll talk about that here shortly. But we will talk about the events before. You know, it's prom night, everyone's getting ready, everyone's glamming themselves up, picking out their suits, putting on their suits, getting dressed, all that, having fun. You know, yeah, if only they knew it was going to be a bloodbath. Woo! Now they got their shit. At some point, we do kind of get the iconic "they're all gonna laugh at you" line from Margaret White while she's talking to Carrie and telling her not to go, don't go. But it's not in the loud, repetitive way like it was during the prom scene in the original movie. That was kind of a letdown, but it was made up for. It was definitely made up for. So, Carrie ends up locking her mother in her prayer closet. A little bit of a comeuppance, if you ask me. And, well, she leaves to go to the prom. So, Carrie arrives to the prom. It's just your typical, like, under the stars thing, under the moon and the stars, ugh, cliche thing. Tommy, you know, introduces his friend and his friend's girlfriend to Carrie, and his friend's girlfriend, you know, they're being nice, they're complimenting her. His girlfriend, Erica, she's saying, you know, I like your dress, and basically just giving her compliments, being nice to her, being genuinely nice to her. And for a second, you also see Miss Desjardins tearing it up on the dance floor pretty badly, but she's tearing it up. Oh, anyway, everyone's having a good time, you know, and hardly anybody's looking at Carrie and talking, and everything seems all peachy and normal, right? Yeah, just the typical prom everyone wants to go to in their life, everyone wants in their life. Yeah, not this one. So, Chris's posse switches the votes to make Carrie and Tommy win, king and queen. Anybody who has seen or read Carrie knows what happens next. Now, if only Miss Desjardins actually listened to Sue, I don't even think this shit would have happened. If she had listened to Sue and said that, you know, and was like, oh, I went out of frame for a second. Holy, my camera's in a bad place. Anyway, if she had listened, I genuinely think that this honestly would not have happened. I don't even think it would have happened. So really, it's kind of Miss Desjardins' fault. So, you know, the blood is spilled all over Carrie, and the video of them throwing tampons at her is played, and she just slowly cracks. She throws Miss Desjardins across the court when she tries to help her. You know, the bucket falls and hits Tommy in the head, and it kills him, which I don't know how. I never understood the logic with that, but I roll with it. Now this is where it gets good, ladies and gentlemen. This is where it gets good. So Carrie turns to the crowd and just flips out. She sends a bunch of kids backwards with her powers as she screams. And then this girl gets face planted into the door while Sue is watching, and then Sue calls the police, and while she's doing this, cue the fantastic score. Carrie freaking slams all of the doors shut and holds them together to keep the kids in the room with her. And oh my god, this scene was so crazy. it was more crazier. It was just way better than the original. I mean, the original has its own thing, but this one was just so kind of graphic. It was just so intense. Like it's just it's because it's in more detail. It's in more detail. She uses her powers to crush people in the bleachers as they try to climb up, and she throws Nikki and Lizzie, the twin girls, to the floor, and they're stomped to death by panicking students. And she starts a fire with the lights that were hanging up, and then she pulls electrical cords down after opening the sprinklers, of course. You know, and I think she spares some of the kids on purpose. And she spares Miss Desjardins, which I was happy about, because she was nice to Carrie. She was genuinely nice to Carrie. She wanted the best for Carrie. You know, and I'm glad that she was spared. Now, after the water is on the ground, she throws the wires down and electrocutes some people. Not to mention, before that, she whipped Tina with them. She just whipped Tina with them, sending her back into fire, and her whole dress just went up in flame, and it killed her. I was just sitting here like, fuck 'em up! Fuck 'em up! Do it! Do it! Now, the flying, at some point after all that, that kind of made me do it. That kind of set back a little bit, but, I guess, you know, it was a great scene. You know, it was a great scene in general. I guess just so she wouldn't die from the electrocution. To be honest, it was great to see those bitches get what they deserved. You know, like, they got what they deserved in the end. Chris eventually did meet her demise in a gruesome car crash alongside her boyfriend, Billy Nolan, courtesy of Carrie. Now, Carrie comes home to finds her mother, who broke out of the closet, mind you. And Margaret, her mother, tries to kill her, only to die by impairment of scissors to the wall in Jesus form, all crossed out and everything. Afterwards, this sends Carrie into a hysteric, sad state, and the house begins to collapse, courtesy of Carrie again. And Sue, before the house began to collapse, Sue actually came to check on her and get her out, but she couldn't, because Carrie was hysteric. She just killed her mother. She wanted her back. She didn't mean to. It was all rage. To which, now this scene is also where Carrie revealed that Sue was pregnant, and that she gently threw her out. And just, it's so easy to see how that difference was there. When she was tossing everything about, she was all angry and everything, but when she was with Sue, when she gently threw Sue out of the collapsing house, you can see how gently Sue laid down against the ground whenever she was floating back. That just shows you, you know. And then the house then collapsed with Carrie in an emotional state. Sue then watches as it collapsed into nothing. You know, it was a very sad demise for Carrie. I gotta adjust myself. A very sad demise for Carrie. And honestly, it's one that made me tear up. Because her demise, she didn't deserve that. In the end, we see Sue Snell at Carrie's grave, leaving a white flower, or white rose. And as she walks away, the headstone cracks. I'll talk about my thoughts at the end of this video, but the plot was and will forever be one of the best plots I've ever seen in a movie, remake or not, and in a book. So after that long-ass summary and plot discussion, yeah, set in wardrobe. So the high school was basic. The house of Carrie White kind of looked basic as well. The prayer closet, however, was pretty well laid out. It looked more organized than the prayer closet in the original, which had all kinds of Jesus stuff in it. All kinds. The prom also looked pretty before Carrie went full beast mode. Oh yeah, it was pretty before she went beast mode. It was still pretty afterwards, I mean. Now the wardrobe, I must say, was pretty standard. Carrie's dress was similar, I'd say, to the original, but I really don't have much to say on that except this. Okay, the only gore I will say we did get was the prom scene. It's amazing how much they put into it versus what we got in the original. This one, oh my god, dude, it's crazy. You got the blood, you got the people caught on fire, crushed by bleachers, stomped on, face against the damn glass of the door, like, amazing. Plus Margaret's death. It wasn't gory, but it was still a good blood. Acting and dialogue. I loved the portrayal of Margaret, even though we don't see her full crazy in this movie. One thing I didn't like, however, was Chloe's Carrie stare / look. When she was doing her telekinesis in the beginning, like with the books, I was kind of cringed out her facial expression. She was all like, I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing that again. Oh my god. But it wasn't until the prom scene that I actually kind of liked her look. It wasn't as exaggerated. Now, the dialogue, pretty straightforward from the book and kind of from the original movie as well. It kind of took its own little turn, but at the same time, it was still pretty good. The score, composed by Marco Beltrami. This score was very well played out. Every scene had its theme, and my favorite will definitely and forever be the Prom Massacre theme. You know, I'll link it in the description, but this score, oh my god, it gets me so pumped, especially when I'm watching the scene or just listening to it, because it means that shit's going down. It's going down right here, right now. Like, this is happening. Carrie White is messing up all these bitches. You know, I love the string instruments in this, and it plays very well all together. It plays very well all together. This one was perfection. This movie was, despite what people say, really damn good. Going back to what I was saying in the plot section, the end of Carrie is a very sad demise. I feel for this character on so many levels, some personal, and I'm very aware and sure that people who have been bullied or shunned or declared as an outcast or just tormented by the worst kids in school or anywhere feel some type of connection with Carrie's personality and character. She is one of my favorite horror icons, and I honestly love her to death. It just shows you how much a person can take before they eventually snap. And I think that's the general tone of the movie / theme, and even of the book. And I think that's also the takeaway from this. You know, it's always the quiet kids that get ripped on and that always snap. It's always the quiet kids. It's even people who you don't even expect. That's the thing. Yeah, her demise after being put through all that, and then it's why it makes me sad, because she took on so much shit only to die like that at a young age. You know, I recommend this movie. Even the 1976 original with Sissy Spacek, they are both really fucking good, and honestly, I think you'd get more out of enjoyment out of the prom scene in this movie rather than the original, but hey, to each their own. Thank you for watching and being patient. As always, leave a like and a comment telling me what you thought of this movie and the original. If you have seen it already, if you haven't, go watch them both. Do not watch The Rage Carrie 2. Do not watch Carrie 2. Do not watch The Rage. I mean, it was okay, but I didn't like it. I didn't even like the 2002-4 miniseries that they had. I didn't like that either. It was weird. Anywho, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Go subscribe to our Instagrams. Everything is in the description below, but not description, at the end of the video. I'm tired. I am tired. Just go down that way. Now, I will admit, this was my third time watching this movie. I had seen it before in 2015, and then I watched it again with one of my friends a few years ago. So I decided to watch it again. I decided to put it in my review skull bowl. Hopefully to draw it so I can talk about it at some point. Because I don't like coming up with stuff on top of my head. So until next time, I'm Smashie. I'll see you soon.